So does anybody know what does Krishna mean? The word Krishna. Krishna means attractive. It's the root word of akarshan. So akarshan means one that attracts everybody. So Krishna is all attractive. Everybody is naturally attracted to Krishna. Another meaning of Krishna is, so in a month we have 2 fortnights, Shukla and Krishna. So Krishna means dark. It means black or so one is Shukla, which means fair, and another is Krishna, which means dark. So Krishna is darkish in complexion, and that's another meaning of that. So all of you are of course aware of the pastime of the appearance of Krishna, but we talk about it because these pastimes, they never get stale. Anytime we hear about it, we get new realizations, and they're sweet. Prabhupada would say that the difference between material and spiritual things is that material things get stale very quickly. You read a book once and you won't read it again. Bhagavad Gita, you can read it over and over again. Srimad Bhagavatam, you can read over and over again. Krishna pastimes, you can hear over and over again. So Krishna's appearance is traced back to Bhumi Devi. That once upon a time, Bhumi Devi was very much distressed because of the number of people who were impious that were living on Bhumi Devi. And this was because of, to some extent, because of the influence of the age. So this was when Dwapar Yuga was ending, Kali Yuga was beginning. So people by nature were more irreligious, more sinful. And it was also because of which is revealed later on in Mahabharata, that the Danavas had orchestrated this whole grand scheme of somehow taking over the earth planet. And they were not particularly interested in the planet because apparently our planet is one of the poorest planets. The Danav Lok is much more opulent in terms of gems and natural resources. But the reason they wanted to take over was because they wanted to further reduce the influence of Bhakti. And their plan was that the Devas, they get a lot of sustenance from the yajnas that are performed. So ultimately their aim was to overtake the Devas. And then, so in the 3rd chapter, Krishna makes this point that when the yajnas are performed, the devas are sustained through that. And the devas then give us rain, they take care of natural events, which is conducive to agriculture, conducive to good, happy living. And then people inspired by that perform even more yajnas, and they said that's how the cycle of material existence sustains itself. But when people become irreligious, then the yajna stop, and then the deva's reciprocation stops, and then it manifests in symptoms like severe weather disturbances. It manifests as the influence of the lower modes, the Rajagun, Tamagun becoming stronger. So because of that, earth was overrun by a lot of irreligious people, appearing mostly as Kshatriyas, mostly as kings, or in that dynasty as the warrior class. So Bhumi Devi, she assumes the form of a cow and goes to Lord Brahma, saying that it is very difficult for me to carry this burden of impiousness and irreligiousness. So you are the grandsire of the universe, you are the preceptor, so you have to help me. So Brahma said that this situation is beyond my control right now. So let us go to Lord Vishnu and seek help from him. So then Lord Brahma, he took along with him the Devas, he took along with him Lord Shiva, and they go to Shvetadweep. So Shvetadweep is a particular part of this material universe that is spiritual. So the Bhagavatam, it is explained that the whole creation is divided into two parts. One is known as Tripath and one is known as Ekapath. So 3/4 of the creation is spiritual, where there is no influence of the modes of material nature, there is no material body, everybody is in their Siddha Swarup, the spiritual form. Everybody has a perfect, happy relationship. So that is 3/4 of the creation. And 1/4 of the creation is the material world, where we live in, where all these universes. So just like there is one of our, there are multiple universes, they are all part of the material world, and they are 1/4 of the creation. And what divides the two is the Viraj river. So there is a river that flows that divides the material creation from the spiritual creation. It is also known as the causal ocean or the Karna Sagar. So in the material world, even though everything is material, but Lord Vishnu has a separate position, a separate planet that is aligned to Dhruva Loka, which is spiritual. And he lives over there. So on that planet, there is an ocean called Ksheer Sagar, ocean of milk. In that ocean, there is an island known as Shvetadweep. So Dweep means island and Shveta means white. So that island is white in color. On that Shvetadweep is Shudaksha who resides over there with Lakshmi Devi. So all the devas, Lord Shiva, led by Lord Brahma, they go to the shores of the Shodaksha Vishnu, and they start worshipping Lord Vishnu. So general protocol is when you are going to somebody that is much greater than you, so then you approach them in the mode of humility with prayers. And so does anybody know what are the prayers that are recited when one approaches Shodaksha Vishnu? It's very famous prayers among the Brahmins. The Brahmins, at least the Brahmins from the south, they recite that almost, they will recite it every day. So they are known as the not Vishnu Sarshana. They are known as the Pursha Shukta. The Pursha Shukta prayers. So Pursha Shukta prayers, we recite them some. Srila Prabhupada will recite them sometimes. Difficult prayers to recite. Difficult in the sense that the meter is a little difficult and the Sanskrit is also difficult, but beautiful prayers. We have some recordings by some artists. Very, very beautiful prayers. They are essentially glorifications of Lord Vishnu. So Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, all the devas, they start reciting the Pursha Shukta prayers. And then Shodaksha Vishnu is happy about it. And of course he knows everything, but for the Leela, he says, what is it that you want? So then Lord Brahma, he puts forward the predicament of Bhumi Devi. So then Lord Vishnu says that at this particular time, it is time for my avatari. that which I am an incarnation of to appear. So let us all of us go and pray to him. So these pastimes are given in the Garg Samhita, and Prabhupada says that from this we can understand that Krishna is the cause, he is the original, and everybody else is an expansion or an amsha or a part of it. So now Kshodaksha Vishnu, he takes everybody, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiv, the Devas, they all go. They travel all the way to the edge of this universe. And then they cross over the boundary of the universe, and so they're still in the material world, but out of this particular universe. And as they're traveling, the Devas, they get completely bewildered because they see on this Viraj river, on this Karuna Sagar, they see millions of universes floating like bubbles. So just like when there is water, there's a lot of bubbles that are coming out. So they see millions of universes that are floating like bubbles. And they notice that the universe that they are coming out from is actually one of the smallest universes. Some of the universes are 10 times the size. Some of the universes are a million times the size. So they get very bewildered. Similar pastime is there in Bhagavatam, that once Lord Brahma, he goes to Dwarka to meet Krishna. So Krishna is at that time in his court, and Brahma goes and knocks. So his attendant comes and says that, what do you want? So then Brahma says that, tell Krishna that Brahma has come to meet him. Okay. So he goes inside, comes back, and then he asks him, which Brahma? So then Brahma says, what do you mean, which Brahma? I'm the only one, there's no other Brahma over here. So that then he goes back in, comes back, and he says, okay, come in. So when Brahma comes in, then he sees Krishna sitting on the throne, and there are millions of Brahmas around him. There are some Brahmas with 8 heads, some Brahmas with 16 heads, some Brahma with 16 million heads. So the larger the size of the universe, the more the heads Brahma has. So then he realizes his position with respect to Krishna. So similarly, the Devas, they see all these universes floating, and ultimately they reach so in the center of the spiritual world is Goloka. So the spiritual world also has several planets in it. There is the Vaikuntha planets that are ruled by Lord Vishnu. Then there is Mathura and Dwarka, which is ruled by Vasudeva. And then there is Golok, which is Krishna's own planet. So they go all the way to Golok, and then there is an attendant. There is a very beautiful woman standing there. And Brahma again goes there and says that we have come to meet Krishna. So then she says that, which universe are you? So then she asks him, which universe? Vishnu says that we are coming from the universe where he gives 2 characteristics, which probably makes this universe unique. He says that Lord Vaman, he, with his toenail, he punctured the walls of the universe. So that's the pastime that it comes in Bhagavatam, that when Vaman begs for 3 steps of land from Maharaj Bali, so then with his second step, he covers the whole upper planetary system, and at that time, by his toenail, he punctures the covering of the universe. So from that, the place that is a very small fissure that comes, the river Viraj, the water of the river Viraj, the Karuna Sagar, that comes into the universe, and that is the water that eventually comes down as, what does it come down as? Ganga. So by the prayers of Bhagirath, that water eventually comes on Lord Shiva, and then Lord Shiva allows it to come as Ganga. So that is why Ganga is so considered so pious because his water is the water of the village river, which is spiritual, and also because when Vaman Dev's foot it punctured the universe, the water actually washes over his foot and comes down. So it is washing the lotus feet of Lord Vamandev coming from the spiritual world. So he gives these two characteristics, that is Vamandev, and this is where Prishni Garbha. So Prishni Garbha is one of the earlier incarnations of Krishna, the son of Prishni and Sutta. So that's another pastime. So then she understands and she says, okay, you can come in. And then they all go in, and there's a very nice description of Srimati Radharani and Krishna sitting in a court and glorified by so many sages, so many gopis are over there, pure devotees of Krishna. They are adoring Radha and Krishna. And then Lord Brahma, so initially he is stunned by so much splendor, by so much beauty, and then by the mercy of Lord Vishnu he begins to speak, and then he again puts his request there that Bhumi Devi is inundated by so many sinful people, and please come and help. And then Krishna says, okay, it's time for me to come. So in the Bhagavatam it is mentioned that in a one day of Brahma, there are 1000 Chaturyugas, which is these 4 yugas, Satyug, Treta, Dwapar and Kali Yuga. And only in one of the Chaturyugas, Krishna comes as Swayam Bhagwan, which is the present, the 28th Chaturyuga. In all other Chaturyuga, Krishna comes, but he comes as Vasudeva Krishna. So Vasudeva Krishna is Lord Vishnu. So that is why this particular Chaturyuga is special. But Krishna says that yes, this is the 28th Chaturyuga. It's time for me to come. So I will descend. I will descend along with Srimati Radharani. So then Radharani says that I will come with you, but only if you agree to 3 of my conditions. And so the 3 conditions he says that I will come with, if there is Govardhan, if there is Vrajtam, and if there is Yamuna river. So Krishna says yes to everything. So as he says yes, so he says Vrajtam yes, so a portion of the spiritual world then manifests on the earth planet. So so this is the 84 krosas. 84 crores of land. So Vrindavan is considered to be adhyatmic because it did not manifest from the material world. And then she says Govardhan, Krishna says okay, and then Govardhan manifests. And then she says Yamuna, he says okay, and then Yamuna manifests. So these 3 companions of Srimati Radharani have directly manifested from the spiritual world, which is what makes them very special. That it is mentioned that 10,000 baths in the river Ganga is equivalent to 1 bath in the river Yamuna. Because Ganga is, even though it's pious, it's coming from the spiritual world. Yamuna Devi, Yamuna Devi is Kalindi. Kalindi is one of the gopis, one of the wives of Krishna. Very, very close associate of Krishna. And she's coming directly from, not the village river, she's coming directly from Golok. So that's why Yamuna is very, very special. And similarly, Govardhan and Vrajtam. And Prabhupada will mention that as long as these 3 are present, the influence of Kali will not be manifested fully. It will be there, but it won't be manifested fully. Because sometimes when you read the Bhavishya Puran or you read the later canto, the 12th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, they make all these predictions about Kali Yuga, and then you think it's not that bad. Like in the Bhavishya Puran, it is said in the age of Kali, people will eat other people. because food will become so scarce. And anybody who claims to be a spiritualist, people will either kill them or they will be cheated or charlatans. Right? So it gives a lot of dire predictions, and we may see traces of it a little bit here and there, but actually it's not as bad as it is said because of the influence of when Krishna left, he left his 3 associates. And so Prabhupada would say, as long as Govardhan is there, as long as Yamuna is there, as long as Rajtham is there, the influence of the age of Kali will be limited. But then he also says that in 10,000 years, these 3 things will disappear. And then the influence of Kali will convert to what is known as Ghor Kali, which is unmitigated in its original, what it's supposed to be. And so Govardhan, every day, Govardhan shrinks. It shrinks by 1 sesame seed. Every day it shrinks. So somebody had done this calculation that actually yes, in 10,000 years, based on the height of a sesame street and sesame seed and the height of Govardhan, somebody calculated it comes very close to 10,000 years that Govardhan will disappear. And this is of course because I heard people are trying to mine into Govardhan and before that those kind of things don't. And same thing with Yamuna. There is a big campaign going on in Vrindavan right now to clean Yamuna. Because Yamuna River right now is so dirty that people are very scared. I remember once I went at Vrindavan and then I said, I'll take bath in Yamuna. And then everybody said, no, don't take bath, you'll fall sick. Because Yamuna is essentially the sewage water from Delhi that comes down over there. So anyway, so Krishna gives this 3 promises to Srimati Radharani, and then he says to the Devas that all of you should take birth in the Yadu Vansh and the Vrishnis and the Bhojas. So these are bunches that were ruling in that part, and await for my arrival. So everybody was very happy. And they went back, and the Devas started expanding and appearing into this dynasty. Now, on the earth, the pastime of the appearance of Krishna actually begins with Devaki and Vasudeva. So Devaki is the daughter of Ugrasen. She's actually the daughter of Maharaj Devak, but she was adopted by Ugrasen. So he considered her his daughter. And Ugrasen had a son also by the name of Kamsa. So again, Garg Samhita gives the pastime of the appearance of Kamsa. That Kamsa is actually not the actual son of Ugrasen. But Kamsa's wife, not Kamsa, Ugrasen's wife, he was very, very beautiful. And she was so beautiful that when Devas would go, and if they would see her, they would get stunned and they would fall off their chariots. So once she was on the roof taking a bath, or after a bath, she was there tying her hair, and there's a particularly powerful yaksha called Drumil, and he was very much taken in by her beauty. So because the yakshas have mystic powers, so he assumed the form of Ugrasen, and then he approached her. So she did not realize, she thought it was her husband, and so they enjoyed conjugal relationship. But when they did, then she could understand. Being a chaste woman, she could understand that this man is, even though he looks like her husband, not her husband. So then she started pushing him away, saying Kamasha. Kamasha in Sanskrit means who I am. And then the yaksha, he assumed his original form, and he said that by our contact you will have a son, and because at the time of conception you said these words Kamsa Kamsa, he will be known as Kamsa. So that's how Kamsa was born. Kamsa had 7 brothers also, who as far as, so there's not much mention of them other than the fact that they were headed, the eldest was Kanak, and they were all very devoted to Kamsa. So maybe because of the association of the elder brother, they became demoniac. So Kamsa's adopted younger sister was Devaki. And then as things transpired, she was married to the son of Shurasena, Vasudeva. And then that pastime comes about Kamsa taking the chariot reins and being the charioteer. So the charioteer has a very, so we see Krishna also as a charioteer. So at least in the Vedic times, the role of a charioteer was like a Shudra. Very, very low kind of a role. So just as a sign of affection, Kamsa took the role of a charioteer, and he was driving his sister and Vasudeva to the palace. And at that time, there was a voice in the sky that said, the 8th son of this woman and man that you're driving will kill you. So one of the questions that are asked, so the Akashvani comes from Devas, these are the demigods who speak. So one of the questions that is asked by the Acharyas, that why did they say that? Why did they? Because it resulted in a lot of trials and tribulations for Devaki and Vasudeva. If the Akashvani had not come, the Kamsa would have been blissfully unaware, and Krishna would have appeared and killed him out, right? So why did they? Why was this warning to Kamsa given? What are your thoughts?
I think the first 7 sons, they had to be killed by
Vasus, the Ashtavasus. No, that's
the Shadgarbha. So yeah, so that is true. But the question still remains: why did they create disturbance for Devaki and Vasudeva? So yeah, you're right. That's one of the reasons.
Maybe Krishna does not want to fight with someone without his knowledge. He wanted to let him come to know.
Okay, be forewarned.
Just
Okay. Any other thoughts?
Make his pastime happen.
To make the pastime happen.
Otherwise, nothing would have happened. Right? He would not have gone from there to there.
Oh, Krishna would have still killed him, right?
just coming and killing. So many things happen.
Wouldn't have been as exciting, right?
Yeah, Krishna's plan, Prabhuji, everything is related to.
For the Leela.
Yeah.
That is true. One of the reasons Acharyas say is that the Devas, when Krishna comes, they are very worried all the time because Krishna is very unpredictable. He is very, very unpredictable in one area, which is in his dealings with his devotees. That otherwise he's very, he's dharmam tu sakshat bhagwan pranattam. He enforces the rules of religion through the law of karma very, very strictly, impartially. When it comes to the devotees, then he's very malleable. He can do things, he'll put the devas into trouble, he'll renege on his own word. So when the devas saw that Kamsa was rendering such service to his devotees, so Vasudeva and Devaki, they are pure devotees of Krishna. So again, Garsamita explained that they were in the previous birth, they were Prishni and Sutta, direct children of Lord Brahma and Prajapati. So when Lord Brahma said go and have children, they performed very severe austerities. And Krishna came and they met Krishna, that you come as a child. But Krishna said, in 3 births I will come as your children. I'm very pleased by your austerity. In 3 births I will come as your children, as a child. So in that birth, Krishna appeared as Krishna Garbha. The 2 personalities took birth again as Kashyap and Aditi. And then Krishna appeared again as Vamandev. And the same personality appeared as Devaki and Vasudeva. And then Krishna appeared again as Vasudeva at the time. So the Deva knew that these are very dear devotees of Krishna. And they saw Kamsa doing menial service to him. So they got very worried. That what happens if Krishna becomes affectionate? Because Krishna is more affectionate to people who serve his devotees. And Krishna often says that one who claims to be my devotee is not really my devotee. But one who is a devotee of my devotee is my real devotee. So they say how to stop Kamsa from continuing to do this service. So they scared him. They said that this person that you're carrying, the eighth son will kill you. And Kamsa, as the Devas had hoped, he became very agitated. He immediately caught Devaki by her hair, pulled her down the chariot, took out his sword, and was ready to kill her. So then at that time Vasudeva, he intervenes and using Sam, Dham, Ved and Dan, he is able to convince. It's a very interesting conversation that happens between Vasudeva and Kamsa. Because Kamsa is very powerful. So even though Vasudeva is a Kshatriya himself, but Kamsa is very, very powerful. He knows that he can't defeat him in battle. So, first he glorifies him. That you're a great Kshatriya, you're a great warrior, your reputation is famous over all the three worlds. Why do you want to tarnish your reputation by killing a woman? Why would you kill a woman? And that's also your sister. So he kind of uses that. Then he talks about so Dham is giving gifts. And he says, if you don't kill your sister, I'll give you my children. They will actually serve you. My kingdom is your kingdom. And I will accept you as my ruler. And then he tries to create divisiveness in Kamsa's mind. That if you do this infamous deed, then your friends will become your enemies, because nobody wants to associate a person of such bad character. Right now you have a lot of friends. You're glorified by so many people. But then these same people will become inimical to you. The whole Yadu ones will become inimical to you. And then he talks about that. Do you know what is the repercussion of these kinds of activities? How much you have to suffer because of that? But Kamsa is like fixed. So Kamsa's answers are also very, very interesting. That many times they portray Kamsa as a little bit of a, they say like he's boorish, but he's also very well read, well articulated, and he says that everybody who's born in this world has a right to preserve themselves. This is one of our basic rights. And he quotes many places in the scriptures where he shows that it is our right to protect ourselves. And by some good fortune, I know that the child of this woman is going to be the cause of my death. He said, just like we eat to sustain our body, we sleep to nourish our body. It is our right to protect ourselves. So by the same reason, I know that my cause of death is going to appear from her. So it is not cowardice, it is not infamy. If I am in battle, even if the warrior that is opposing me is weak, I will kill that warrior. Because if I don't kill him, he will kill me. At that time, I don't think that this warrior is weak or this warrior is no match for me. The fact that we are in battle and he threatens my life, it gives me the right to kill him. So that's why it's okay for me to kill him. But Vasudeva finally convinced him. He says that you have no danger from her. From her sons you have danger. So I promise you that every son that is born, I will personally come and hand the son over to you. So Vasudeva was famous as I forget the name, but as a person who never goes back on his word. So Kamsa knew that Vasudeva has this reputation that once he gives a word, he will stay true to that word. So he said, I know that you are this kind of a person who will never renege on your promise, so I'll let you go. But every son that is born, you have to come and give to him. So then the pastime happens. So he lets Kamsa and Devaki go. So they are happily living in a palace. And when the first son of Devaki is born, so Vasudeva, as per his promise, he takes the son to Kamsa. Kamsa is very happy to see Vasudeva. He says, I knew that you are a person who is true to your words. And the reality of the fact is that I have nothing to fear from this particular boy. Actually, the first boy's name is Kirtiman. He says, I have nothing to fear from Kirtiman because I have only to kill the 8th child. So you take the son back. Vasudeva is very happy. He says, okay, takes the son back. Then who comes next into Kamsa's palace? Narad Muni. So Narad Muni comes and he says, what have you done, Kamsa? So you have let the boy live. And Kamsa says, yes. Because I have nothing to fear from him. And why should I unnecessarily kill children? And I am a warrior, I'll only kill those who pose a danger to me. So then Narad Muni tells him the story. He said, do you know who you were in your previous birth? So your name was Kalnemi. So Kalnemi is the descendant of, according to some scriptures, the son of Hiranyakashipu. He says you are Kalnemi. And when the battle was fought after the churning of the ocean of the Sagar Mantha, then at that time Lord Vishnu killed you. So then Shukracharya, he revived you by Sanjeevani. And after you were revived, you underwent severe austerities to be able to because you developed strong enmity to Lord Vishnu. So you performed severe austerities, and then Lord Brahma, he came and gave you this benediction. So he had asked for many benedictions that I may not be defeated by the Devas, I am immune to so many astras, immune to curses, a lot of benedictions he had, other than immortality. And Brahma had said, okay, because from severe austerity. So he said, so you are the result of such severe austerities that you have performed. And you should know that these people who are your relatives, these Yaduvanshis and the Vrishnis and the Bhojas, they are all actually incarnations of demigods. And who is going to be appearing in the womb of Devaki is none other than the source of Vishnu. So you never know that who is the first and who is the second and who is the 8th. So Devas are very tricky. And actually that happens later on because the 7th pregnancy of Devaki, it suddenly manifests and it disappears. Right? That's Lord Balaram. So Devaki was pregnant with Lord Balaram, and then suddenly she was not pregnant because Yogamaya transferred the embryo to Rohini. And then Kamsa was like, is this the 7th child? Not the 7th child, 8th child? So Narad Muni, he tells all this to Kamsa, and he tells him for the same reason that Akashvani came. Because Narad Muni was actually sent by the Devas. So they were again worried. That they said that Krishna is very unpredictable when it comes to his devotees. So you see how happy. So when Vasudeva went back to Devaki carrying the son, then Devaki started giving benedictions to Kamsa. That my brother is, so the heart of a devotee, very, very simple and pure. So she's not thinking at that time that he's trying to kill my son and curse him. But the fact that he allowed the son to live, she became very benevolent towards him. And she started glorifying her brother. My brother is really nice, he's very brave, may he live long, and may you have many sons. So Devas again got nervous that the Krishna's devotees are giving benedictions, and who knows, Krishna might change his mind and we'll be in trouble. Because Kamsa by that time, Kamsa had defeated all the Devas. So he was not only ruling the earth planet, he was also ruling the heavenly planets at the time. So that's why they sent Narad Muni. So Narad Muni reminded Kamsa of his old enmity to Lord Vishnu. He also reminded him of the trickiness of the Devas. So Kamsa gets now agitated. So he says, so he says that, so just to be on the safe side, he says that not only will I kill the son, but I'll put them in prison, so that I clearly know what's going on. First son, second son, they're not hiding anybody from me, because Vasudeva also, so Vasudeva is also an incarnation of one of the demigods. Vasu's therefore one of the demigods. So he says, ultimately whatever he is, he's a demigod. Demigods are tricky. So that's why then he puts them into chain, into prison, and then he starts killing the sons of Devaki. So when Krishna appears eventually, then under the influence of Yogamaya, everybody goes to sleep. And then Vasudeva takes Krishna, crosses Yamuna to Gokul. So one of the questions that is asked is that Vasudeva had given his word to Kamsa that I will give you all my children. All my sons I will give to you. But for Krishna, he broke his word. And Vasudeva was Satyasar, that he never broke his word. It was his dharma, that he would never break his word. And yet happily, he took Krishna, he crossed the Yamuna river. Not only did he do that, but he kidnapped Yashoda Mai's daughter and brought her back, knowing very well that she will be killed. So if you look at this from a more, from a slightly different perspective, it's a pretty abominable act. That you have a child, you break your promise, that's not abominable, but that's not good. But then on top of that, you know your child is in danger, so you kidnap somebody else's daughter, make sure that your child is safe, get that person's daughter and put her in harm's way. And this is Vasudeva, right? Not an ordinary person. So how do we understand that? How do we understand the mind of Vasudeva?
Was he doing it consciously, Prabhu? Because it seems he did not know. He just got up and then this all happened, that he lifted Krishna, he went and came back. But then when he got up in the morning, this happened in the night, but when he got up in the morning, he did not know what happened.
At least the pastime, the way it unfolds is that he did it consciously, because when Krishna appeared, then Devaki and Vasudeva, they are both trying to hide him within the prison. And then, of course, it's a prison cell, they can't hide him. So then Krishna, then he manifests his four-armed form. And then he says, don't be scared. You don't have to be scared, but do this, this, this. And then they recite very beautiful praise in the glorification. And at that time, Krishna, as Lord Vishnu, at that time is Vasudeva. He reminds Vasudeva and Devaki of the previous words. That in previous to previous word, you were Krishna. So he reminds all that, and then he asks. So it appears that he was sensient, he was fully conscious at the time. Any other thoughts? He's a devotee and Krishna told him to do so. Yes, that is the reason. That in the Bhagavatam, one of the first questions that is asked by the sages in Naimisharanya to Sutta Goswami is that what is the highest duty of us humans? What is the ultimate duty for humans? And then Sutta Goswami recites this famous verse. Says Savai Pumsa Paro Dharmo यतो भक्ति अधोक सजे अहेतुकी प्रतीयता ये आत्मा सुप्रसिद्धि. This is Savai Pumsa. Pumsa is us, Purush. Savai Pumsa. I guess it equals to you. So Purush is mankind. Savai Purusha Parodhan. The highest form of religion is Yato Bhakti Adhoksajaya. Adhoksajaya is another name for Krishna. So Adhoksajaya means that one who cannot be perceived by material senses. Yato Bhakti Adhoksajaya. Aituki Apratiyata. Aituki means it should be causeless. Pratiyata means uninterrupted. Ye Atma Suprasiddhi, executed happily. So there is dharma and there is paradharma. So dharma is what we do according to the codes and conduct of religion. What is a dharma as per our varnashram? If you are a Brahman, you have a certain dharma. It's called swadharma. If you are a Kshatriya, you have a certain dharma. If you are a Brahmana and a Grahastha, you have a certain dharma. So based on a varna and ashram, you get a certain dharma which can change. When you are brahmachari, then you follow brahmachari dharma. When you are grahastha, you follow grahastha dharma. When you get older, you follow vanaprastha or sannyas. If you go there. Even the varnas were not fixed. The birth-based varna came later on. But earlier on, Vishwamitra, he was a king, a Kshatriya, but then he became a Brahman. He became a Rishi. Dronacharya, he was a Brahman. But on the battlefield, he was Kshatriya. Right? That's why Arjuna was fighting with him. By the way, you can't kill a Brahman. For a Kshatriya to kill a Brahman is the greatest sin. But Dronacharya was following Kshatriya Dharma. So that's why. So Dharma is there. But Savai Purusha Parodharma. Paradharma is Yato Bhakti Adhoksajaya. So Bhakti means do what Krishna asks you to do. So Vasudeva's Dharma was that I will never lie. That I will stay true to my word. That is my Dharma. Krishna said, take me there and put me in Mathura, do this. That became his Paradharma. That Paradharma, it supersedes all forms of Dharma. So that's how devotees, especially in this current age, where even our understanding of Dharma is not very clear. Right? So, I remember once Rampalma was giving a class and somebody asked him that, Maharaj, I'm a computer programmer, so what am I? Am I a Brahman, a Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra? What am I? And Maharaj said, for the safe side, just assume you're a Shudra. So he says, in a Kala Shudra Sambhavate, that in this age of Kali, everybody should assume that they are Shudras. But actually, we are not even Shudras, because Shudras know the duties. They know what they're supposed to do. Right? We don't even know that. We are beyond that. We don't even have a clear conception of Varna and Ashram. But our protection is that we know our Paradharma. That in this age of Kali, Krishna came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then he says, Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam eva kevalam. Kalo naste, tatir annat. That in this age of Kali, that our Paradharma is Hare Nam eva kevalam. Is the chanting of the names of Krishna. And that's why, so sometimes we have this discussion that I chant, but I'm not able to take a bath before chanting, or I'm not able to be in a materially pure condition before chanting. But it is okay because you're following Paradharma. If you were doing religious practices by Dharma, there are a lot of rules and regulations. Do this, do that, take a bath, get permission, particular time and day, Kandesh Patra. So there are a lot of stipulations. Not in Paradharma. Paradharma, there is you and Krishna. You do what Krishna asks you to do. So Krishna says, in this age of Kali, Paradharma is simply chant my holy name. So that's why we did it, and that was Vasudeva's Paradharma. So that's why he happily went there, dropped Krishna, Krishna said, get the daughter back, got the daughter back. And so we're running out of time. And then of course there is a subsequent pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan, Krishna killing the demons in Vrindavan, and yeah, I just want to give some time for Krishna also. So and then after that he comes to Dwarka, he comes to Mathura after that. So for 11 years he stays in Vrindavan. He comes to Mathura for 25 years. He stays in Mathura, and then he goes to Dwarka, and then for about 90 years he lives less than 90 years he stays in Dwarka, and then he does many wonderful pastimes. So the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, he gives 3 reasons for which he comes. Right? In the 4th chapter, he gives 3 reasons. Very famous verse. Yada yada ekamasya glane bhakti bharata abhuttanam dharmasya tadatmanam sritayamya. And what are the 3 reasons? Paritranai, sadhana, vinashaya dushkritam, samavami. So the Acharyas say that of the 3 reasons, 2 reasons are not sufficient to get Krishna. So vinashaya dushkritam, absolutely no reason for Krishna to come. Krishna can imagine the vinashaya dushkritam and it happens. Even if he doesn't want to imagine, he can send his empowered representation. So who's Krishna's in the Leelas? Who was one of Krishna's empowered representation? Who's Krishna Dushtaman Shakti? That is Lord Parshuram, right? Lord Parshuram came 21 times. He killed Kshatriyas. Krishna just killed once. Parshuram killed 21 times. He killed Kshatriyas. Krishna didn't have to come himself. Parshuram, he empowered Parshuram, and Lord Parshuram did that. Dhamma Samstha, more dear to Krishna, but even that he can do through his devotees. So that's something that excites the devotees, to preach about Krishna, talk about Krishna. So that's what Dhamma Samstha. But Paritrana is sadhana. For that purpose, Krishna comes personally. Because that is an opportunity for Krishna to do something that he would not get otherwise. That in the spiritual world, there are these pure devotees. In the material world also everybody is intrinsically a pure devotee of Krishna. That's the intrinsic nature. But these are the pure devotees who are bewildered by the material energy. Right? It's like a father has 2 sons, one son is living happily with him, other son has a quarrel with him and goes and lives somewhere else. But the father's love for the son is still there. He could still come and spend time with the son and try to inspire him to come back. So Paritarana Sadhana, that is the main reason that Krishna comes is to associate with his devotees. So when we see Krishna's pastimes, we see him doing on the side several things. He's killing demons and he's playing politics. But the core, the essence of Krishna's Leela are the loving exchanges that he has with his devotees. Whether it is with the gopis in Vrindavan, whether it is with his wives in Dwarka, with his parents, with his brother. So many, that is the core of, that's what makes Krishna's pastimes so very sweet. That's the same when you look at Lord Ram's pastime. The real nectar of the pastime comes when you see in Ramayana's interaction with his devotees. That when Sita Devi is kidnapped, seeing the bewilderment of Lord Ram, we tend to think of it a little bit like, husband lost his wife, so he was bewildered. But when the sages look at the pastime, their heart just becomes overflowed. That this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he's lamenting that his associated devotee is gone, temporarily gone. So can you imagine how much is he lamenting for us? So Sita Devi he got back in 1 year. Sita Devi was with Ravan in 1 year, he got her back. We have been away from Krishna for millions and millions of lifetimes, since time immemorial. So the Acharya said, can you imagine the amount of pain that you're inflicting on Krishna, that he's waiting for you now, this lifetime, maybe this lifetime, maybe. Every lifetime, so it is said that everybody gets an opportunity to go back to God. Some take it, some don't. But each and every living entity gets that opportunity. Not just in India, but everybody in every religion, every nation, every time, they get this opportunity. Some take it and some don't. So it is said that of all the festivals, there are two festivals that are very dear to Krishna. One is Krishna Janmashtami and the other is Ekadashi. So Krishna, people who observe these festivals become dear to Krishna. So Janmashtami is dear to Krishna because it is dear to Srimati Radharani. And because Krishna is affectionate towards Srimati Radharani, then he inherits her fondness for the festival. And Ekadashi is dear to Krishna because people who follow Ekadashi develop that potency of going back to the spiritual. It's like the father seeing the son is now doing something by which he can come back to his house. So the festival becomes dear to us. So for those of you who are planning to fast, please do. Those of you who are not, please consider it. If you can't fast the whole day, fast for a part of the day, maybe till noon or something like that. The fasting is till Krishna's appearance, which is in the middle of the night. But till whatever time that your body allows you to do, the circumstances allow you to do fast. If you can't do fast, then at least do fruit fast. So at least stay away from grains. Try and chant a few extra rounds for that day. Because Krishna's mercy is very potent and strong during that time. So stop here and see if there's any comments or discussion.
So, Prabhuji, you mentioned that Krishna is very unpredictable with his pure devotees. So, as I learned, pure devotees are...
Not with his pure devotees, but when it comes to his pure devotees.
When it comes to his... Okay. So, so pure devotees, they are always hearing and chanting about Krishna. So they are with Krishna all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So where does the predictability or unpredictability come in?
Unpredictability comes in the sense that think of it this way: there is a king that is governing the kingdom very nicely. There is very nicely the code of conduct, the rules and regulations. People who do good, they get rewarded. People who do get bad, they're punished. And then the king's son or the king's wife does something, maybe good or bad, and the king's reaction is completely different. Right? He may glorify his wife a lot for the little bit good she does, because that relationship is no longer based on the law book or the rules and regulations. So for everybody else, Krishna is samom sarva bhuteshu name dveshasti na priya. That I'm the same to everybody. No dvesh, I have no envy, no na priyashu, no affection. But one who worships me, he lives in me and I live in him. So that is the intensity of Krishna's affection. So a little bit a devotee does, Krishna will reciprocate. Will reciprocate enormously. Take the example of Prahlad Maharaj, right? Prahlad Maharaj, he worshipped Lord Narasimhadev. Lord Narasimhadev gave him the benediction that I will not kill anybody in your lineage. And because of that, Bali Maharaj could not be killed. Bali Maharaj, of course, was a devotee, but at one point, like Raj Bali Maharaj, Banasur, he was an authentic demon kind of a guy, but Krishna refused to kill him. Right? So even the Devas were very much, because Banasur was doing all kinds of things, and he was very powerful because he had the protection of Lord Shiva, but they knew that he was protected by Krishna's benediction. Right? So Krishna is so things that happen on a platform of love and personal relationship, they unfold a little differently. as opposed to those that are happening more based on the law book and the rules. That's why the devas are always very concerned. That if Krishna develops some affection towards Kamsa, they'll say, okay, that's okay. Maybe he'll say Indra, maybe he's beaten me up a few times, but that's okay, he's just okay, let him be. So they didn't want to have that situation.
This Krishna is not.
That's why it's called Bhagagrahi Janardhan.
Baba Gaida, yeah.
I was just saying that's Deva's perception about Krishna, that he may act like that. Even though Krishna has a plan, he is not unpredictable. He knows what's going to happen to Kamsa, what's going to happen to Ravan. It's just that Devas were thinking that, because they were very enemies of.
Right.
They were hand in hand with them, right? It's not that Devas were superior. Devas were actually very scared of Kansa, Ravan. They all beaten up, right? So
Yeah.
that's where they were thinking.
Yes,
Just to be sure.
And they know Krishna's nature.
Yes.
So that's why they wanted to make sure
Yes.
that nothing happens that disturbs the plan. It's like Krishna, like on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he had no problem breaking his own vow. Yeah. Bhishma Deva attacked Arjun, and sometimes people say that Krishna picked up the chariot wheel to protect Arjun, but Arjun was always protected. He didn't pick the chariot wheel to protect Arjun. He picked the chariot wheel to satisfy Bhishma, because Bhishma had taken a vow that I will make Krishna pick up a weapon today. Either he kills me or he picks up either I kill Arjun or he picks up a weapon. So Krishna was reciprocating to the pure devotion in Bhishma, that he wants me to break my vow, so to make him happy I'll break my vow. So that's when he picked up the child. So that is Krishna's nature, very affectionate towards his devotees, very partial towards his devotees. What's that verse? Abhichet Sudurachara Bhajate Mamananyava. Abhichet, he says, Sadhureva Samantavya. He says, my devotee Abhichet Sudurachara. Durachara means do bad things. Sudurachara means really, really bad thing. And Abhichet is even if he's doing very, very bad thing, Abhichet Sudurachara Bhajate Mamananyava. If he's worshipping me, Sadhureva Samantavya. That you should consider him to be a sadhu. If the second line was missing, then Krishna won't say that sadhu. Then he says, Apichesu Duracha, bad karma happening to him. He will suffer a lot because of that. Krishna says, I personally condemn such person to the darkest region of hell. People who do sinful activities. Right? He says that later in the 17th chapter. But the second line comes, Bhajate Mamananyava. But if he is worshipping me, then the whole equation changes. The law of karma goes out of the window. Sadhu reva samantavya samyak vivasita. Because he will eventually be restored to his original position. So that's Krishna's nature. He is Bhakta Vatsalya, very, very affectionate towards his devotees. So we don't want to take advantage of it. We don't want to say Krishna is affectionate towards his devotees, so we do all nonsense activities. But even without trying, we're doing nonsense activities. Right? Yeah. So we don't have to we don't have to try. So once somebody asked Prabhupada, so when Krishna comes as Kalki, then Kalki will kill all sinful people, and people killed by the hand of Krishna get at least the Yuchi. So then somebody said it's a good deal that we do sinful activities, Kalki kills us, we get Savji Mukti. Prabhupada, don't worry, you're already doing sinful activities. You don't have to try. Anything else?
One more question.
Yes, Prabhu.
Was Radharani elder to Krishna?
So in the Bhagavatam and the Kirk Samhita, it's indicated that she is 2 weeks younger to Krishna. So when Srimati Radharani was born, then she was born blind, deaf and dumb. She could not see, she could not speak, and she could not hear. And the parents were obviously she was very beautiful, but parents were who's going to marry her. that she can't see, she can't speak. And they were also friends. So Bhanu once came to meet Nanda Baba, and Srimati Radharani was lying on the cradle, and then Krishna was 2 weeks old, so he was around there. And so Radharani had taken this vow that the first person she would see when she opened her eyes would be Krishna. So when Krishna came in front of her, then she opened her eyes, then she spoke, and then the first sound that she heard was Krishna's sound. From there. But I know in one of the discussions somebody was telling me that either there are some conception that say Radharani was elder to Krishna or Krishna's aunt or something like that.
Because maybe not by Shastra, but in Mahabharata, whatever we watched from that.
Mahabharata says that.
It's getting a confusion.
Yeah. But at least in the Bhagavatam and Gangsman it clearly says that she's 2 weeks old.
But there is one pastime also, Prabhu, right? Wherein in the forest, Radharani, like Nanda Baba gives Krishna to Radharani to take care of him. It's raining. There's one pastime like that, and then.
So that pastime appears in the Bhagavatam also. That so there's the time when Nanda Baba is there and Krishna and Radharani they're both there. So he sees that there is going to be a lot of thunderstorm and rain. So he says, both of you hold hands and go back. So Krishna and Radharani they're holding hands and going back, and then of course they don't go back. They go to on the banks of a particular kunda, and they're sitting over there, and then at that time, taking advantage of the fact that they were alone over there, Lord Brahma comes with all the demigods, and then Lord Brahma so they marry Krishna and Radharani. So Lord Brahma becomes the officiating priest, the Gandharvas sing, and they have this marriage ceremony, and then they go away. And if you go to that, if you go to that place, I forget the full details about it, but if you go to that place, the soil over there is very sweet. So they actually give you like pedas made of the soil, and you can eat it there. They're very, very sweet, and generally you can't eat soil, but the soil over there is special soil. That they roll it into small like round things, and then you can actually eat there. So there was something related to the pastime why the soil became sweet, that either because they didn't have anything to give, and then Krishna said, okay, the soil is your dakshina or something like that. I forget the details. But that pastime, the tree is still there under which they were.
The well with the water also. There's a well.
There's a well, yeah, it's an elaborate pastime, I kind of forget the details. The water of the well is very, very sweet also.
Then we were not able to have children there. Isn't that the same?
Yeah. There's a lot of details. Yeah. But I think that's the pastime we're talking about.
Another thing Prabhuji asked, so in Jatayu, when Hanuman was worshipping, when Ramsita Lakshman came back to Ayodhya and Hanuman was worshipping, somehow or other he thought like Sita Devi to be mine. I have not read, but I don't remember from where I know, but it is in my mind. Then Lord thought it's okay, and the next yuga it will happen. So Hanuman's incarnation said, I don't remember the name, but
Abhimanyu.
No. What is Hanuman, like Radharani's husband's name?
Abhimanyu.
Abhimanyu.
There's a different Abhimanyu, not Arjun's son Abhimanyu,
Yeah.
but there's a different Abhimanyu.
Sounds
Most
Abhimanyu.
Radharani's so-called husband.
Oh, what
It's not Hanuman. From what I haven't heard that.
so different.
I haven't heard of that, but at least what the explanation is that Abhimanyu is the incarnation of the shadow of Krishna. So, and Of course, he never touches Radharani. He never touches Radharani. But he's there for increasing the sweetness of the pastimes. So there are a lot of pastimes there where Krishna and Radharani, they kind of, trick Abhimanyu to do something or the other. So just to increase the Leela. But Abhimanyu is actually an incarnation of Krishna's shadow.
It's always been a question, like 90% people who have not read Shastra or who have not attended such type of classes, they know that Radha is something different, and even during my college time, somebody, if a boy having couple of friends like girls, then they used to be, he used to be called as a Krishna because so many. That wondered me like why, and even now I have encountered a couple of times like why Krishna has not married. So whatever I heard, so I used to answer internal potency or internal energy. So there is no difference between them. But what should be the good answer for it? So many times.
Thank you, that's a good question. So the answer to some extent depends on who's asking you. So sometimes devotees, they sincerely ask this question, and the answer to that is, as you were indicating, that Krishna is consulting with his own internal potency. So the potency in a way operates to make the Leela as sweet as possible. So Parakriya Bhav it's more. Prabhupada would say that the spiritual world is a different material. In the material world, Parakriya means having a relationship with the wife of somebody else. So in the material world, it is abominable. It's immoral, abominable. In the spiritual world, it's not, because it adds to the whole sweetness, the Parakriya Bhav. But that's an answer you can give to a person who's more of a devotee. For others, you can give this general answer that there are actually several Vaishnava philosophers, including Jiva Goswami, who actually present this philosophy that Radharani was married to Krishna. The fact that when they were children, and Lord Brahma married them, which means that they were husband and wife. So that that pastime is seen in a different